Okay, recording this video after close trade, Thursday, 14th of June, 2012. Hope you had a good day's trading today. Sitting here, sipping my coffee, and a couple of things to talk about. First of all, someone really wanted to get this thing going through the 1320s today. Show you that on the kind of intraday charts. Really kind of funky activity right on the button at 2 p.m. Chicago time. And we're also coming up to cyclical resistance on a whole bunch of charts. I talked about the last video 2 days ago, and we're coming closer and closer to that. And then we've got the weekend kind of going on. We've got, kind of elections in Greece. We've got stuff happening in Egypt, and it's all kind of coming together. And the market needs to go in a particular direction. It's just kind of itching to break. So let's have a look at this daily chart. Closed at 25.75, 2.1 million contracts traded. This is the activity on the 5-minute chart that was on the button at 2 p.m. and bang, we just took off. We'd started to weaken during the morning, kind of topped out here at 20, kind of come back in. I mean, I'm checking kind of news stories and seeing exactly what was going on there. There was a 30-year bond auction, but yeah, I don't know. It's like, did the professionals really want to kind of get this thing going? We're coming up to these kind of cyclical or important resistance levels, and so they just wanted to get this thing going. And then it kind of came all the way back down within a couple of minutes, and then kind of testing back up. So someone's really keen to get this thing through the 20s and get it going, and you can see now on the 45 and the 135-minute charts we've kind of broken through these resistance levels here with kind of these blue professional bars kind of heading up. So we're trying to break into an uptrend here, and we can also see that. But mind you, we're coming up to this resistance on the daily chart. On the tick bar chart, same kind of thing. So on the 4,500 tick bar chart, we're kind of breaking through a resistance level here at the end of the day. On the 13,500, same thing. We're kind of, we kind of broke above it, came back, tested it, and kind of keeping going. And then 40,000, same thing. We're breaking above it. We've had our exhaustion selling bullish divergence patterns kind of come in, tested with flush patterns here. Come back to here. So we're trying to break into this uptrend. In the euro on the daily chart, we've had kind of test down on amateur bars. So I don't like it, but I think we're going to break into a bit of an explosive move, maybe come into the resistance on these daily charts. So let me show you these resistance levels on the daily charts. So this is the Dow. This is what I'm looking for. The cross happening on better sine wave on these daily time frames. Here's the Russell, same thing. We're below support here, so we're in a downtrend on the Russell. That's why the levels are less close together and kind of heading parallel. When we're in a trend move, better sine wave kind of shows up as kind of almost parallel lines. S&P 500. There we go, just like the Emini chart on the daily time frame, just waiting for that to kind of kick off. And then here's NASDAQ again. We're below support here, so we're in a downtrend, and we're coming to this cyclical cross here. So this will be pullback in a downtrend when it goes off. But are we going to see a spike first in kind of high volume trading? Giving the professionals another opportunity to kind of get short, and then we come down, or are we just going to roll over after today's kind of spike up that might fail tomorrow? If you look at the risk on charts, crude, we're in a downtrend. Here are the parallel kind of lines on better sine wave here. Aussie dollar coming up to that cyclical cross here. This was warning about the last couple of days. And euro. This is the two amateur kind of down bars into testing here. We're below support here. Support becomes resistance potentially. We're coming up to this turn. It's all just, we're just waiting in this channel. And I've got to believe that the energy's got to flip to the downside, because we've got to see bullish divergence before this is over. And we're in a downtrend. We're below support here. But the question is, are we going to have some kind of spike up and then come down first? Gold below support here with just kind of a weak rally back up under resistance, I beg your pardon, here. Silver, we had the cross here with today's activity, pull back in a downtrend, kind of gone off, so I'm expecting this to kind of move down. And then here's copper, more in a kind of stronger trend, because better sine waves, kind of parallel lines here. And then we've got the reverse on the risk off charts. So we've got dollar index kind of resistance becomes support, potentially around this type of level. It's where the professionals kind of broke out through the 81.5 kind of level, 82 here. So we're kind of coming back here a little bit of a ways before we get to this, but here's 30-year bonds. So we're coming up to this level. We've kind of pulled back. This will be pulled back in an uptrend. So again, a couple of days away here. This is the 5-year. So 5 years gone off with today's activity, so pull back in an uptrend. This bullish divergence kind of come in here, and then here's the 10-year. So more of a stronger trend. I said like this last couple of days. It's more kind of parallel on better sine wave, so it's kind of stronger trend move here. So when I look at all of those, we've got, someone was trying to get this thing going today through the 1320s. We've got all these cyclical resistance levels kind of due when they're confirmed. We need price and time confirmation to kind of come together, and we're coming into Friday's trade. We've got the weekend with all the activity, and then we've got the news stories out of that. So maybe this turning point's going to happen early next week, but just trying to gauge whether we're going to have that little kind of explosive kick up. Trend oscillators again. So we had the first kind of kick down here a couple of days ago. I'm just showing you this better put call ratios turned already here. So let me just switch this off on this chart. And you can see we've got bearish divergence here come in. We had today's activity trend reading, adjusted trend reading was just 4, which is basically neutral, kind of equal buying and selling kind of going on here. We've got this cluster of sell signals going on. We've come back up plus 115, so we're kind of slightly overbought here. And with the bearish divergence signal, this is kind of waiting to turn over. But then, trend line, we're just sitting here with this kind of consolidation pattern broken above the downtrend line. Is this just going to give up the ghost and go the other way? Just looks like it's just consolidating, waiting for a punch up, and then better X trend. We're in an uptrend here, just like one of these. Well, it's not like, I'm not suggesting we're going to see a move like this, but we're above cyclical this kind of trailing stop here at the 1300 type level, so it's really kind of key. Got this bar kind of sitting there under 40, so do we have a spike and then we kind of lose it and come back down. So there we go. That's kind of what's on my mind in terms of that activity. Kind of intraday was really interesting. So everybody, well, the pros are trying to get this thing going, get the mood to change in the market. But I just kind of keep on looking at it and thinking it's not as if people are rushing. We've had this whole week for people. If the bottom was in and we're into an uptrend, we've had the whole week for people to kind of jump on board, the professionals, to really kind of kick this thing off and kind of get going. And we've just kind of played around the highs and never been able to kind of break through. In terms of trading today, interesting kind of activity. 1500 tip bar chart kind of pre the open. We'd had yesterday's activity. We kind of bottomed out with exhaustion selling. First bullish divergence kind of comes in. We test the lows kind of down here in the 1300s, and blue professional bars kind of come in, race away kind of overnight into Rambo patterns driven by the amateurs, so kind of fails a little bit. And then the amateurs trying to get short kind of later on in the evening, and again kind of marking highs and lows in terms of the consolidation of the range here. Exhaustion selling pre the open, first bullish divergence. I think we had some employment data kind of coming out before the open, and that was kind of what led to that volatility. And then at the beginning of the day, we try to hold this level, flush patterns kind of come in. And I got long at 11.25, but then kind of got out loss of 2.5 because I thought this thing was going to break, and then we kind of came back down pretty strongly, so I kind of exited around here. I was hoping that we'd see blue professional bars kind of come in here around the 1308s. You'd have thought we'd have seen them picking it up at these lows. We had exhaustion selling, and I'm looking for those after the open, which is kind of good to flush out sellers at that point. But no blue professional bars kind of came in here, which was kind of weird. Then amateur down bar kind of testing but down, so the amateurs trying to get short there, no, kind of break the other way. Then we have blue professional bars with exhaustion buying going on here. So what I read that as, that's kind of almost like jumping on board this move, bit of short covering going on, getting this move going, because we then broke to the upside. Initially we broke to the downside, but you can see here we had this large amateur down bars, just like this move here, kind of testing into these lows at 1309, and then we broke above it and kind of got going. And that was again on the 4500 tip bar chart, big amateur down bar. Let me show you that there after that blue professional bar at those highs, big amateur down bar. We come back up, break above the highs of that, so this move kind of breaks into an uptrend. So I was kind of in at 1075, which is fairly late into this move as it was breaking up, but then as soon as it kind of broke above those blue professional highs, we were into an uptrend. So it was a little bit unusual in as much as no blue professional bars kind of coming in at the lows on these spikes down here, and then we had the blue professional bars kind of coming here with exhaustion buying going on, just showing that they were kind of keen to get going, and we initially broke below the lows of that. these were the signals. So looking for those testing down bars, amateur down bars, getting wrong-footed and going the other way. So not a kind of a classic setup, if you like, but yeah, kind of good enough. Anyway, so took profits at 16 even after we saw a little bit of weakness kind of coming in here after that Rambo pattern there. So that was 5 1/4 on this trade, but I had 2.5 loss to kind of make up on the first one. So yeah, kind of happy with the trade, but it kept on going quite strongly, and it wasn't really over. This is kind of yeah, pro signal exit at this point, but this was a much better exit down up here. Pro signal exits kind of into the 20 level here first, but bearish divergence kind of comes in, then we kind of set off to the downside. But then this is the afternoon's activity where we really started to break into a downtrend, and then they just halted this thing at 14. Bullish divergence kind of comes in, and then just 14-point rally, bang, just straight through the 20s to get this thing going. Then we come all the way, almost all the way back. Blue professional bars kind of come in, then we kind of set off again. So the professionals using this opportunity to kind of get off on these rises. It was fairly weak pushes later in the day with Rambo patterns here. So not kind of convinced that it's a genuine breakout, but someone was very keen to kind of get this thing going. If you got any kind of rumors that you want to send me an email about, please be kind of curious about that. Again, as I say, in terms of news releases and stuff, the only thing that I can see kind of going on was that we had a bond auction at 2. Anyway, bit of a long video, sorry about that. I hope you traded well today.